Hi everyone, so today in this video, we're going to talk about cameras and the many brands and choices that we have. Cameras are a big investment, and if you've been thinking about turning your photography hobby into a business, I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to be considering when you're buying your first professional camera. Now, I've been doing photography for 20 years and I work at VSCO, and we don't sell cameras, but we do offer tools and community, so I hope that this is as unbiased and trustworthy as possible for you. We recently did a poll on our social media channels to ask photographers what camera brands they're currently using, and the results were kind of interesting. Canon came out on top on both Twitter and Threads, which is not that surprising, but Fuji took a strong second place on Twitter and barely falling behind to third place behind Sony on Threads. Nikon took fourth place in both places, but was definitely in the game, and then Leica, OM Systems, and Ricoh also showed up very strongly in the comments. So let's take a look at each of these brands in more detail, and then we'll talk about recommendations for different photography genres. Use the chapters in the video description to jump to the sections that interest you the most. But before we do that, I want to quickly highlight 7 really important considerations that often get overlooked in these conversations. You know, you're not just buying a camera, you're stepping into a whole system, and as a professional, you really need to know how that system is going to work for your business. It's not just about having fun anymore, you need to make money with this stuff. So consider, number 1, does the camera brand that you're looking at have everything that you'll need to grow into as your business grows? For instance, are there lens options that you could afford soon to expand your offering and increase your quality? Number 2, and this one's important, how is their repair program? You will be very grateful for a good repair program as a professional relying on these cameras for your work. Most brands have a professional repair services kind of offering where you pay yearly, but they vary in cost and what they offer. So look into that. And also, where is that nearest repair center for you? Is it across the country or is it nearby? I've been saved many times in my career by being able to literally drive a broken camera or lens to the nearest repair center so that I could get it back in time for the next job. Number 3, you should really have a backup camera so that you can get the job done even if something goes wrong with your main camera. So consider whether the brand that you're looking at has good options for a backup camera that you could afford. Number 4, look at the memory cards that the cameras that you're looking at take. Some of the newer types like CF Express will be more expensive and require a separate card reader, which is kind of a hidden cost. Number 5, really think twice about those high resolution cameras. I know they're cool, but something around 24 megapixels covers many of the main needs of a professional. If you look into the megapixel requirements for the print sizes that you think you'll need, you'll probably be surprised at what the numbers actually are. You don't need that much. And those extra megapixels might just take up space and slow down your computer without really adding much value, ultimately costing you time and money in your business. Number 6, full frame is kind of a default and it is really great, but don't rule out APS-C or medium format. Both of those offer compromises that plenty of professionals find more compelling than full frame for their business needs, and they're very successful with them. And then lastly, number 7, don't rule out the used market. The best cameras from just a few years ago still work great, and there are some amazing deals to be had out there, and your money can stretch a lot farther if you're willing to buy secondhand. All right, so with that, let's take a look at the major camera brands. First of all, let me just set your mind at ease. There are no wrong choices when selecting from these modern cameras. People are winning contests with cameras from 10 years ago regularly, so things have been really good for a long time and you'll be fine no matter what you choose. However, each brand has its own strengths and weaknesses, so here's a high-level overview of the various camera brands. Canon is the market leader and is known for its beautiful colors, ergonomics, and high-end lenses, but it can be an expensive place to start. Sony is number 2 and offers a wide range of lenses and camera bodies with class-leading performance. Nikon has a proven history of innovation and boundary pushing and has a well-balanced and competitive offering that I think has caught up with the other two. Panasonic is strong in video and has made really fast gains recently in the full-frame market. Fuji specializes in APS-C and medium format systems kind of above and below full frame, offering a very compelling alternative to the kind of cost-performance ratio of some of the other full frame brands. Leica has a rich history and a high-end, perhaps niche product. OM Systems is geared toward rugged and adventure photography, and then Hasselblad and Phase 1 are definitely in there too at the upper end with amazing medium format systems. Now, a quick word on lenses before we get into cameras. Every brand has bundled cameras with a kit lens, and these vary widely in quality and cost. You may already have one of these. Broadly speaking, these are usually not the best place to start for most professional genres. So really take a look at the lens offerings of each brand as you explore, and consider getting a cheaper camera and maybe a nicer lens, or even just upgrading the lens on your existing camera instead. Often that will actually make the biggest difference in your photography. To start off, we have to talk about Canon, the biggest player in the market for a long time now. And it's not surprising that they have a great product range, amazing lenses, a long history, and that means that they have a really great used market. And the Canon Professional Services, or CPS, support is wonderful. Their cameras are known for their color science, amazing autofocus, ergonomics, reliability, and very strong video capabilities, and of course their lenses are renowned. However, there are some disadvantages. So Canon's expensive top-tier lenses are great, and there are some entry-level offerings, but the jump between the two can be close to $2,000 at times, with really nothing in the middle. And since they are very restrictive with third-party lenses like Sigma and Tamron, your upgrade options are often both limited and expensive, and this can make Canon a harder place to start for people that are just getting going. Now, there does seem to be some change possibly coming here, but we're going to have to wait and see on that. That said, Canon makes an amazing product, and for most genres, the R6 Mark II is a wonderfully balanced camera that can do just about anything really well. For higher resolution, the Canon R5 is excellent, and of course the R3 and the upcoming R1 will certainly win for speed. The Canon R8 is a good option on a budget, but keep in mind the lenses can still be pricey. But thanks to their long history, Canon's used market is amazing, and something like a 5D Mark IV or an EOS R can be had for close to $1,000, which is a pretty incredible deal compared to a new R6 Mark II for about $2,000. Sony has risen quickly in the last decade to become the top competitor to Canon with their leading sensor technology and autofocus capabilities. Because they've been making mirrorless cameras for so long, they have an extensive lens ecosystem with many price point options and just about every third-party option possible. Their used market is quite strong as well. They have a competitive pro support program, and their cameras are extremely capable at video. However, they're known to release new cameras rather than updating the old ones, and their product lines can become confusingly overlapping for some. Also, some people find their designs and ergonomics to be uninspiring, which obviously is highly subjective, but you might want to go to a camera store and actually hold one of these and play with it before you buy it. For most genres, the A7 IV is extremely capable, but it is a bit more expensive than its rivals. For speed, check out the Sony A9 Mark III. For low light, the Sony A7S Mark III is a really unique offering. There's really nothing else like that. For high resolution, the Sony A7R Mark V is a top-notch camera at 61 megapixels. It's really only rivaled by some of the medium format cameras above it. On a budget, the Sony a6700 is an APS-C camera that's really a great choice with a lot of good lens options, and the Sony a7 III is still for sale and offers a fantastic value as well. It's about $1,300 new. It's still a very capable camera, and it's compatible with all their new lenses. Fujifilm is really interesting. They turn left where everyone else turns right, and I think it's really paid off for them. One thing that was quite surprising to me was how much higher Fuji usage was among the users in our social media poll compared to industry averages. This is clearly a very popular brand, and again, it's easy to see why. I mean, we're probably all familiar with the X100 series, if we can get one. They just make really fun and inspiring cameras, but Fuji has built a very compelling offering kind of above and below their full-frame competitors. The X system is the most serious APS-C system there is, I think, and offers amazing performance with lower cost and weight, while their GFX medium format cameras offer astounding image quality at probably fast enough performance with pretty competitive prices that we really haven't seen in the medium format world before. They also take video very seriously. In fact, I'm recording this video on a Fuji camera. However, Fuji Professional Services are probably more expensive than the others, and the reputation of their service center, at least in the US, is not the best, so you might want to really consider having a backup camera if you do go with Fuji. For a balanced option, the Fuji X-H2 and the X-T5 are great. For medium format, the Fuji GFX 50S Mark II is wonderful, and of course the GFX 100 series offers a crazy 102 megapixels if you need that. On a budget, the new X-T50 is really good, but on the used market, the X-T4 and the X-T3 have a really good value. And I just need to call out too, the X-H1 is an amazing value right now. It's about $800. This was a flagship camera just 6 years ago, and it's still very good. Nikon has a long history of innovation extending into the modern age with groundbreaking cameras like the Z9 or the Z9 to some of you. They have a mature lens ecosystem with diverse options in both cost and performance, and their long history means that they have a really great used market as well. Now, they did have a slower start in the mirrorless market, but they've been moving quickly, and the new Z6 Mark III is a class-leading camera at a competitive price. And also, they recently acquired RED cameras as well, so their strong intentions in video are very clear, although their newest cameras were already very good in this area. Their repair services with Nikon Professional Services is also really great. The Z6 Mark III is an excellent do-anything camera for most genres, and I think it shows that Nikon isn't holding anything back. The Z7 Mark II offers a really great experience with higher resolution, and then for the ultimate in speed, certainly consider the Z8 or the Z9 with those stacked sensors. But on a budget, the Z5 is solid. But don't forget, the Z6 Mark II is still great, and it's bound to become a good deal now that the Z6 Mark III is out. And then the D750 is amazing on the used market. I found it for around $600, and it's a very capable camera still. Now, they also do have the Nikon ZF, which puts some gorgeous vintage style on a modern camera. And if that's interesting to you, the other full-frame competitors don't really have anything like that. So Nikon brings a lot to the table. Panasonic is really carving out a name for itself lately with very powerful video features and affordability in the full-frame market. Their newest camera, the S5 Mark IIX, is very competitive. But before that, their autofocus kind of lagged behind the competition, so you don't really have a lot of options here, but the options that you do have are great and affordable. Plus, they use the open L-mount lens system, which has a wealth of great options from other manufacturers like Sigma and Leica. For a balanced option, look at the Panasonic S5 Mark IIX. On a budget, the S9 is a great choice, and the used Panasonic S5 offers a good value with solid performance. Leica is famous for their amazing build and image quality, and their legacy is just astounding. I mean, Oscar Barnack invented what we now call full frame over 100 years ago. They are pretty expensive and kind of niche, but there are plenty of professionals using their cameras, and their lenses are renowned for their magical quality. So they're more of an aspiration than a reality for many of us, but don't rule them out, especially on the used market. The new Leica S3 competes well with other mirrorless cameras, but at a premium. It does use the same L mount as the S5 Mark IIX, so there are great lens options there. And then of course the Leica M series is very unique and specialized, with the M11 being the smallest and the lightest full-frame camera that you can get with this level of image quality. There's just nothing else like that. It's hard to call anything in the Leica world a good deal, but for better prices, consider the older M9 or the 240. Oh, and Leica is still making film cameras with the MP, so they bring some very unique offerings to this list that could be worth consideration. Lastly, several of you in the camera poll mentioned OM systems, so let's talk about them. OM Systems is the continuation of the Olympus brand by their new owners, and they really carved out a place in the photography world with their emphasis on portability and ruggedness, and it suits outdoor and adventure photography very well. They've gone all in on the smaller Micro Four Thirds sensor, which means you'll lose some image quality, but in exchange you'll have a lighter and smaller system that's often cheaper as well. They do have a very mature lens system, and Panasonic has actually been making compatible lenses for years, and so you can get a lot for your money with OM systems, especially if you need a compact, travel-friendly system or something with a longer range and lighter weight for maybe wildlife photography. For most genres, the OM1 Mark II is an excellent pro body, but it is quite expensive. The OM1 Mark I, or just the original OM1, is still excellent, and it's a better deal now. The OM5 is a smaller, less feature-rich camera, but still delivers a lot at a much lower price. And then the used market for these cameras is very strong as well. We don't have time to get into it here. Look into the older Olympus cameras before OM Systems took over. It's the same camera system, and there are some great deals there. Okay, now I know I didn't touch on popular cameras like the X100V, the Ricoh GR, and the Leica Q. These are wonderful wonderful cameras, don't get me wrong. And there are pros that use them, but it's usually not where you would start to build a business, and that's what we're talking about here. These cameras are very specialized with their fixed lenses, and often they serve more as inspiration machines or a second camera for the professionals that use them. Let's now talk about the needs of each photography genre and how each brand's cameras map into those needs. For portrait and fashion photography, you need great color, probably good prime lenses for that background blur, and great eye tracking autofocus. You might compromise on resolution since you probably don't need massive prints. Brand new camera recommendations for this genre would be the Canon R6 Mark II, the Sony a7 IV, the Nikon Z6 Mark III, and the Fuji X-T5. Look at their 50mm and 85mm prime lenses, or the 33, 35, and 56 for Fuji. They surely have, the high-end f1.2 or 1.4 options, but some also have great f2 lenses, or there might be third-party versions that could be a really great place to start. You may want to look at the lower-end camera offerings of these brands as well, since often the compromise there is just in the build quality, and you're less likely to be pushing those boundaries of weather sealing as often with models anyways. The Canon R8, the Nikon Z5, the Sony a7 III, and the Fuji X-T50 might also be worth a look for a lesser budget. For landscape, architecture, product, and some commercial photography, you do often need a higher resolution and dynamic range for more demanding client needs. So brand new camera recommendations for these genres would be the Canon R5, the Sony a7R Mark V, the Nikon Z7 II, and the Fuji GFX 100 Mark II. So speed and low light performance are less critical since, you might even be on a tripod here. So you could also look at some of the older models that have maybe slower autofocus but great image quality for a better deal. The Nikon D850 and the Sony a7R III or R4 are wonderful. And then of course, many of the older Fuji GFX cameras are still great and have amazing image quality and high resolution. For event and wedding photography, you need lightweight gear that you can hold for hours, along with autofocus speed to catch those important moments, great low light performance, and reliability. Resolution can probably be compromised as long as it's good enough, which I think they all are. But these are demanding genres, and so I would also highly recommend that you make room in your budget for a backup camera as well. There's usually not a do-over opportunity for these things. Brand new camera recommendations for this genre would be the Sony a7 IV, the Canon R6 Mark II, the Fuji X-H2 or the X-T5, and the Nikon Z6 Mark III. I'm guessing there might be some pushback about the higher resolution options here, but let me just ask you, do you really need the 45 megapixels of the R5 or the Z7 for these kind of genres? Maybe, but I personally don't see it. You can print a 20-inch print with 24 megapixels at full resolution, and you could probably go way past that with upscaling software in those rare times that you do need something bigger. If you're taking a few thousand photos at each event, double or even triple the resolution might just cost you more in time and storage than you would make from the occasional big print. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear your experience. If you disagree, share your thoughts in the comments. It might really help someone. For this genre, look at the 24-70 and 70-200 zoom lens offerings for each brand to get started. Sony does have the lightest 24-70, but Canon has those light and small 70-200s that are pretty unique, so be sure to check those out. For travel and stock photography, you need lightweight and versatile equipment. Resolution can probably be compromised in favor of low light performance and weight, and you need to consider lenses here as well because those can add to the weight substantially. For recommendations in this genre, I'm actually going to start with the smaller sensor cameras here because of their lighter weight. So that's the Fuji X-T5, the Sony a6700, the OM Systems OM5. These are going to be easier to carry around for a long time, and a slightly less quality photo that you do actually take is going to be 1,000 times better, infinitely better than the 100 megapixel photo that you didn't take because you got tired of carrying around your heavy camera. Now, that's not to say that the larger full frame camera systems can't work. I've done it a lot and others do as well. So also check out like the Canon R6 Mark II, the Sony a7 IV, perhaps with that new 24-70, which is so light, and also the Nikon Z6 Mark III, which is a wonderful camera. Now, this genre is a place where the Leica M system does become interesting. You do give up autofocus, but in exchange, you get a very small and light system with extremely high image quality that could be perfect for travel. So definitely look into Leica for this genre. Once you've narrowed down your list of potential cameras, you may want to look into some finer details, and there are some great resources to help you make your decision. dpreview.com has great reviews and wonderful camera comparisons, but certainly check out their studio comparison tool. It's really unique, and it's a great way to compare the image quality of different cameras. Camerasize.com unsurprisingly helps to compare camera sizes, which I actually find surprisingly useful in understanding how big something is, especially compared to the camera that I already have. For lens reviews, check out the YouTube channel of Christopher Frost, and also opticallimits.com has a lot of great resources. Hopefully you're now better equipped to make an informed decision with your camera purchase. Again, all of these camera choices are amazing, and no choice is going to be a bad one. So much of this comes down to personal preference and style, and you know yourself better than anyone. Honestly, if I was starting over right now, I'd probably be looking pretty hard at Nikon and Fuji. I think they both have the technology and the motivation as the underdog to deliver the most value right now, and I think they are. But all of the brands have a lot to offer as well. To finish, I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree with what I've said here? Maybe you have some helpful insight that a budding photographer should know about investing in a camera. Let us know in the comments, and that's all for today. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.